Chats with me. Going deep. Chad and JT.
What's up, Stokers of Stoke Nation? This is Chad Kroger coming in with the Going Deep with Chad and JT podcast. Guys, before we begin, I'll remind you once again that we are brought to you by Manscaped. Manscaped, thank you so much for keeping our trims pubed, for looking after our hogs, for making sure that we're looking fresh and clean, because we're in the new year and you gotta tighten up. So use code GODEEP20 at manscaped.com. I'm here with my compadre, Jean Thomas. What up?
Boom clap, Stokers.
And we're here with NFL star. What else?
Heisman Trophy winner.
Heisman Trophy winner. Yeah, just overall legend, Ricky Williams. Welcome to the pod. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me on.
How's it going, man? How are you?
It's going great. It's been a busy day, but pretty much all my days are kind of hectic now.
Because you're starting a podcast, right?
I started a podcast. Yeah, we launched last week. I'm the CEO of a startup, and so that's
cool.
That's crazy. Startup life is crazy. Yeah.
Isn't that kind of?
Oh, go ahead.
Isn't that kind of nuts about athletes, especially in, I guess even specifically in your case, like, is that you have this like incredible career, but when you're done with it, you're still like a super young person. So it's like there's so much more, I don't know, in front of you than was behind you. But I think it's just relative to how the public sees it, it's so different.
Well, in a sense, there's so much in front of us as far as years, but I think it's difficult for us when we retire to start over and try to get back to some same level of expertise in doing something else. And I feel like I was fortunate because halfway through my career, I retired, took a year off, and kind of found what I was interested in. And from that point on, I started working towards this kind of second career. And so
what's the startup?
Back then, what I start? What's the startup? It's a app. It's a relationship app called Leela.
Oh, cool.
We noticed astrology is really gaining like so much popularity. And one of the things that I started learning about back in 2004 when I retired was astrology, and it's kind of become like a passion of mine, and I've really been studying it intently for the past 16 years. And so I took a class with one of my instructors on relationship astrology, and I was about a year out of a divorce and about 6 months into a new relationship. And so I had all these questions. And during this class, I just had so many aha moments. I was like, everyone needs this kind of information when they're getting into and getting out of in relationships, because it's so useful. And so we decided to put something together and put it out in the world. And so it's so cool taking an idea that literally comes in a flash, and then putting the team together and putting the pieces together to make it come to life. And
this has been a pretty massive year for astrology too, right? We had like the shift into Aquarius.
Well, the big deal was the planets Saturn and Jupiter both moving into Aquarius.
Right.
At the beginning of December.
Mm-hmm.
And what astrologers like to talk about is that humanity is moving into the age of Aquarius. And these are these big astrological ages that last, 2,100 years. And, in layman's terms, it's saying that we're shifting into a different way of being. And so this entree of, Saturn and Jupiter into Aquarius is kind of waking us up to this, even further to this new energy. And further in layman's terms, if you see how fast humanity has developed in the last 150 years, it's mind-boggling.
Right. It's crazy. And did you always have an interest in sort of spirituality and yoga and astrology prior to 2004?
No, I wouldn't say always. I think as a kid, I loved church, and I was a religious kid. But I think as I got into middle school and high school and started playing football, that football became my religion, and I approached it as such. The time and effort and kind of energy I put into it, it became my religion. And then I got into the NFL, and that's a whole nother issue. But I started to realize that it was great to be in the NFL and achieve all my dreams, but that there was more to life than just running the ball up and down the field and trying to collect as many houses and cars and women and all that shit as possible. And so I started looking for something more meaningful.
Did it feel different in college?
It felt very different in college. I think first of all, you're not getting paid, and second of all, when you're in college, people tend to look at you like you're a kid because we still are kids. And I think I made that jump to the NFL and this expectation that I'm supposed to be this, this stereotypical hero. And at least personally for me, that's not really what I was playing professional sports for. Though for some people it's a great fit and it works. I'm the kind of person where it wasn't a good fit.
Was any part of it in college also like you and Mac Brown, were you guys like pretty tight?
I mean, he was only my coach for a year. I was actually closer to the coach
Oh.
before him. And it's also different that way. A lot of times when you're, especially your 18-year-old kid, you get recruited by a coach, and he's kind of your guy, your papa for 4 years. There is a special kind of relationship, and typically you look up to the head coach, and if they're good guys, they take care of you. And you get to the NFL, and it's different. Coaches really aren't mentors so much anymore. They're a boss, and they're there to do a job, but it's more cut and dry. And I think anything where you're getting a group of humans together, right? I don't care. I've done reality shows. You put humans together, and something in us, we start to move to create a tribe or a family. And I think on a football team, you have to have that. You have to have that there for a team to be successful and for it to be a meaningful experience to people there.
Did any coaches? I was watching the MJ documentary, and the head coach, Phil Jackson, he was really into Buddhism, I think, and all that kind of stuff. Did you encounter any coaches that sort of tried to implement
in football
spirituality? What's
in
up?
football? In football?
Yeah.
That's funny. No. There's no coaches implementing spirituality in football. One day maybe it'll be nice. Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Did you find that other players were kind of suffering in the same way, like feeling like they're, I don't know, like the pressure of the job and the way that football kind of tries to make it a one size fits all thing? Because it is interesting how in basketball it's like a little more star driven, and like the personalities of the players are kind of showcased. But in football, like no one's bigger than the league, no one's bigger than the team. And
I think it has to be like that in football, because it's too hard. Football's too hard. It's too hard. It has to be like that. And it's too easy to fake hurt. It's too easy to not give 100%. And so you kind of have to have that in to a certain extent. You kind of have to have that mentality in football. But I think you can still have personalities. I think when I was I spent a year with the Ravens, and I think John Harbaugh did a wonderful job of finding that balance between team is important, but the team is built from individuals. And so he would say, let your light shine. And I think, that's what we're moving towards. I think the old school days of football was no one's bigger than the team. We have to be uniform. And that doesn't work anymore. And I think now players are they're being given more of a voice. And I think in the long run, that's going to help the game survive.
Even like the NFL not allowing celebrations for like that decade there from like 2008 to like 2018. It was such a bizarre thing to kind of rein in. I mean, it was like pretty wild when like Ocho Cinco would be like having these elaborate kind of like theater pieces planned out. But the fact that they just totally did away with celebrating for 10 years is like, there's no space in sports and now it's great. It's so nice to have it back. You get to see them do like a dance routine from like a New Edition song. And you're like, oh, this is like fun.
Yeah. And I think that, NFL, like any corporation, in order to survive and thrive, they have to learn to adapt. And I think they're doing a really good job. I think they did a good job of handling, Black Lives Matter and COVID and, listening to the players and taking, making sure players aren't going to be suspended for cannabis anymore. So, I commend the NFL for stepping up. And I think they're listening to the players, and I commend the players for speaking up. I think for so long we've been silenced, and I think it started with Colin Kaepernick and players realizing that we do have a voice.
Mm-hmm. Did you always though? Did you always just drilling a dude when you were carrying the football?
Well, I mean, I learned early in my career, you're either the hammer or the nail, and said I'd rather be the hammer. So
Were
I
there,
practice, I practice what I preach,
what do you mean?
meaning like I'm gonna be the hammer. I'm not gonna let people just tee off on me.
Mhm.
That's an interesting thing for me. It's like I want to be more spiritual and more open, but I also do like I like boxing, I like wrestling, like I like kind of beating somebody else at something.
And
And
you think you can't be spiritual and still beat people at things?
no, I think you can, and I think it actually helps to have that. The spirituality can actually help it. Like a lot of the best fighters are like deeply spiritual.
Right.
Um, but it does like but there can also be like ego in other parts of it too, you know what I mean? And
There's
so
more ego in spiritual people than there are in, people that are holier than thou,
right.
and they're but there's just as much ego in that. I think there's even more,
That's true.
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
But to me, like the path of the fighter is, the idea of the spiritual warrior, that to do true spiritual work, you have to face some really scary shit about yourself. And if you're if you don't have the courage to look at those things, then they call it spiritual bypassing. People just try to go over that stuff. But these days, to be truly spiritual, you have to deal with your shit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is there anything you've done to confront that head on, like silent retreats or
I've
uh,
done all that stuff. I mean,
ayahuasca?
I've done all that stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm all in. If it comes across my table and it's interesting enough, my typical response is like, where do I sign up or put it on the
Right.
calendar? That's my typical response. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm here to live life. I'm here to live life, and so literally, if an idea reaches my ear and it piques my interest, uh,
Mhm.
I'm doing it.
What have you found to be the most effective so far, or do you have like a favorite method or anything like that?
And it depends on where you are.
Yeah.
Certain times in my life, some certain methods are like money, and other times,
Mhm.
I go to them and nothing.
Mm.
And so I guess it just depends on what you're doing and where you're at. I think in life, we have certain challenges that show up at certain times, and it's like, do you have finding the right tool for the job?
Right.
Who-
And
Interesting.
typically, I'm a spiritual person, so I get myself in a bind, and I just have faith that if I'm in a situation, it's for me to grow, and so everything I need to deal with the situation is in arm's reach. I just have to find it.
Mhm.
I'm a big fan on being creative. And what I mean by being creative is just showing up. Like we're
Mm.
playing the Steelers or we're playing the Patriots, and good defenses that are geared to stop me. And if I'm going to be successful, if we're going to win, I got to find a way to be creative and deal with whatever they're throwing at me. Um, and I believe that everything in life, the wonderful things, the challenging things, are all here for that reason.
Mhm.
Did you have like how did you like when you would play a good defense? I'm a Steelers fan. Like when you would play the Steelers and like I don't know, did you play against like did you and Palomalu overlap a little bit?
Mhm.
Did you could you feel their creativity going against your creativity when you were out there together? Like were there certain players that you could it
Of
almost felt like you
course,
guys
of
were
course.
making like all
Well, to a certain extent, I think there's so much goes into it, like the game plan and then the defensive players' understanding of the game plan. And you saw this in the Super Bowl. When one team is outmatched based on game plan, it's not really equal. One team is teeing off on the other team. But there are some games where we're running the ball and the defense knows we're running the ball and they know what play we're running. Then that's when it's creative. And there's been battles like that. I can think of some against the Patriots. Belichick, he always has his team prepared. He always has the teams prepared, and so they know what play is coming. We know what play is coming. Can we put a hat on a hat and find a crease? And that's fun. A lot of times you'll see that in the fourth quarter of a close game. Teams have to be creative.
it's changed too, right? I mean, when you were playing, it was more run heavy, and now it's gone more spread and kind of it's more pass dominant. And your body took such a pounding, especially those 2 years in Miami. Do you think that you would have preferred playing in this era where it's like a little bit more running back by committee and it's not so bell cow, but it's not
I
the
don't
norm.
know. I mean, towards the end of my career, I was doing running back by committee. I split time with Ronnie, and then my last year in Baltimore, I split time with Ray. So I got a little bit of that, and it was nice. You make the same amount of money, you take less beating, and the game is more fun. And there's trade-offs. Yeah, it was tough carrying the ball 25, 30 times a game, but there's also something about that feeling of,
Wearing them down.
put the team on my back and we we were victorious. So I appreciated both ways, and I was lucky that I got to bang a little bit when I was young, and I got to extend my career later because of running back by committee.
And my brother mentioned too, I think you were the first guy to do a reflective visor, right?
Yeah, I was one of the first guys to wear a visor. Yeah, I mean, I pretty much just did what I wanted to do, and if the NFL let me, then I did it. I like being a trailblazer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they say you're not supposed to do stand up in sandals, so I always try to do that just to
Yeah.
really be like, look, hey, these are fake rules we've created here.
Do they really say you're not supposed to do stand up in?
Yeah, I think most of the time it's because the stage is elevated. So if you're wearing sandals, you're going to be like, your feet are going to be right in the front row's face.
Oh,
But yeah, it's kind of an unwritten rule of stand up that you wear closed-toed shoes.
are there any other kind of unwritten rules of stand up?
And pants. You can't
Wear
wear
pants?
shorts. You can't wear shorts. Yeah.
Really?
That's a big one.
Don't
Yeah.
wear a tank top. You should wear sleeves.
Are you kidding? Are you being serious?
No,
No,
this is
this is
real
serious.
shit, man. This is real
What's the
shit,
tank
bro.
top rule? Like,
It's just like people will just think you're a joke a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
They
And
won't.
I'm thinking if you're a badass though, right? You don't have to follow those rules, right?
That's what I think.
Yeah. I think their argument too is that it's distracting for the audience if you don't have sleeves or if your like feet are showing. It's distracting, or they might even say it's disrespectful to the audience. But
Wow, I didn't realize. Yeah, that's surprising. I just imagined that comedy was like, do whatever you want. But
yeah,
It is a little bit that.
Yeah, I guess with
as long as they laugh, right? Is that?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, if the crowd's cracking up, no one can really say anything to you. But then if I guess you're putting your neck out there a little bit more if you take chances like that. Because if you bomb and you're wearing sandals, then everyone's really gonna.
That's bad.
Yeah, they're really gonna take some shots at you. It's funny though with stand-ups, like stand-ups personalities are so contrarian by nature, and they're all about having edge, and we kind of resist any sort of conformity. But I think and football almost seems like the opposite of that in a lot of ways. But I sometimes think stand-ups would be better suited if they went a little bit towards the middle there.
Really?
I do, yeah.
Do you like what comedians do you really like right now?
I'm not talking about like the hugely successful ones. I'm just talking about more like Joe Schmo stand-up that I run into at like an open mic or a smaller show. But who are the comedians I love? Dave Chappelle. I think he's like a genius. I love Bill Burr. I like Maria Bamford, Chelsea Peretti, John Mulaney.
Yeah.
And then all time, probably Richard Pryor, Mitch Hedberg, Todd Barry, Stephen Wright. Yeah, sorry, those are a lot of names. What about you, Chad?
No, a lot of names. Yeah, I mean, I was a big fan of. I grew up a big fan of Richard Pryor. So I used to play minor league baseball, and played for a couple of years in the Phillies organization. And those summers playing minor league baseball, all I listened to was Mudbone. All I listened to was Richard Pryor. I mean, oh my god,
his characters are amazing, like his act outs and
his
stuff.
Storytelling, man, it's next level.
And then he was in the 70s, like doing shows where he'd talk about like blowing another dude. And he was just so fearless about it. Like, but then he would do like a show for like the Gay Alliance of Los Angeles, and he would be really mean to gay people. He had this like incredible, and, it's not good that he did that, but he was such a complicated person. And I think he was the only stand-up who could put like the full complicated nature of a human being into like a set of comedy. I don't think anyone else has done that.
Yeah. Yeah, he was raw. He was raw before raw.
Yeah, he's a fearless dude. I think growing up in a bordello, right? His grandma ran a bordello, so
That'll do it.
you'll learn some shit.
Yeah.
yeah.
Sure will.
Yeah. Um, did you see in football? That just made me think about my vices with like sex and stuff like that.
What do you mean your vices? What are you talking about?
Like because I
Sex
don't
is
go
a
to.
vice? What?
For me, it is. I didn't go to like bordellos, but I had like a webcam porn problem. I'd watch that like it was just for a concentrated period of time, but I'd watch like I don't know, like 6 hours a day of it or something like that, and I was just
Not the
burning
problem?
through
Shit.
it. You know what? I didn't think it was a problem because I was very honest about it with people, and so I thought because I was honest about it, it wasn't a problem. And then at a certain point, I realized it was eroding my self-esteem and it was hurting the people around me, and that's when I kind of had to come, which was a little bit late too. It wasn't until it really started hurting me that I realized it, you know.
Hurting you like your skin was chafing?
No, I looked great.
Oh.
I think
Oh.
it was bumming
He
my
was
parents
glowing,
out.
actually.
Yeah, it was bumming my parents out because I was charging it to my old man's credit card,
Oh,
and
okay,
it
that'll
was
do it.
making them sad. And
That'll
then
do it.
yeah, I remember when he called me and he goes, "Jesus Christ, JT, there's free porn on the internet." But I think
What was your response to that?
I was like, "Hey, that's pretty funny, Dad." And you're
Oh.
right. Yeah, I'm pretty good at getting in trouble. I kind of just take it on the chin.
Yeah, I'm good at that.
Yeah. Yeah. What is that in us? What do you think that is?
I love it though. I love it because it's like, you know, the truth is if you do something like penance, right? Redemption, you have to do something to feel better. And I think you own it, you take it on the chin, you move through it faster. You know, people
Totally.
that try to fight away, they just suffer longer. Like, you got me, okay, I'll take the punishment and let's keep it moving.
And there's a part of me that like kind of likes to mess up too, because I think it'll like jumpstart some growth, or it'll teach me to be tougher and more durable, and I'll be more alive almost.
It's the truth. It's the truth. 100%. 100%.
You feel that way as well?
Hell yeah, it's the truth. I don't. It's not even that I feel that way. I mean, I have proof. My life. I know every time I'm in trouble, like, you know, I got to a point where the butterflies in your stomach, and you're just like, just to transfer it. I know after this, I'm gonna be a better person. I know it.
Mm.
So was there a part of you when like you left the NFL the first time where you like, and people were kind of making fun of you on ESPN and you know the Jason Taylor thing at Halloween? I'm sorry if this is like hard to talk about,
Why would
but
we have to talk about? I don't give a fuck.
I don't know. But like, was there a part of you like in the back of your head, you're like, okay, they're saying that shit now, but they don't realize that that part of me likes this, and part of me feels like I'm gonna take all these punches, but I'm gonna come out of the other side of it like.
Well, the other part of it is like taking punches. Like when I retired, I wasn't watching ESPN. What the fuck do I care what they're saying about me? That was why I retired.
You really didn't care?
That was why I retired, so I didn't have to deal with that shit anymore. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And so I retired, and I was like, what do I want to do with my life? And I wanted to travel. So they were talking about me in ESPN. I was traveling around the world, having the time of my life. I mean, you know, it wasn't like I woke up one day and I was like, I'm going to retire. Like, it's something that I was thinking about for a long time. And the idea of there's so many other things out in the world that I want to do. I've already proven everything I needed to prove about being a football player. Why am I still doing this? You know, that was the question that I had to wrestle with myself. And I couldn't come up with a good answer. I couldn't.
So
I couldn't do it.
When you retired, did it feel sort of like a rebirth right away? Like you're heading into the next phase of your life, or was it
it felt more like a death first. It felt more like a death, but even the death felt liberating. You know, I felt like this huge weight was off my shoulder, and there was this just space and possibility of like, what now? And I think for a lot of people that scares them. But for me, I had been like putting myself in a box for so long. It felt good to be able to ask myself that question, and I had enough money to be able to answer it with pretty much anything I wanted to answer it with. And so one of the things that I wanted to do was travel. And so, you know, I hit the road and literally got on a plane and just picked a place and just kept going from place to place. And when I left, you know, at the time, I thought there's a good chance that I'll never come back.
Where'd you go?
First place I went to was Samoa, and then I went to Fiji, and then I'd been to Australia a couple of times and I always wanted to go back. So I went back to Australia. I spent some time in Thailand, and then I came back to the States realized that I needed to find a job, needed to develop a skill because wasn't going to play football anymore. And that's when I got into holistic healing. I started studying Ayurveda in Northern California. Then I found yoga, went over to India, spent a lot of time there. And when I was in India, I realized, okay, if I want to get my life back on track, I have to go back to the NFL and do it the right way, get my dignity back and get my life on the road. And so I came back to the NFL and I did it my way the second half of my career. And I got to walk away from the game with my head held up high, and it really set me up for all the things that I'm doing now.
Are you into Paul Check? Are you a fan of his work?
Who's that?
Paul Check.
I don't think I've heard of him.
Oh, he's a big holistic guy in San Diego.
Oh,
he works with he works with a lot of athletes. He works a lot of more like extreme athletes like Kelly Slater and like dirt bikers and stuff.
I'm a big fan of like alternative medicine for athletes. Like, I went to the doctors and did the Western medicine thing and just gave me an ulcer and but started doing more of the holistic, taking care of my body. Cranial sacral massage. Watching what I eat and meditation, Tai Chi, and whole nother world.
Do you still weightlift?
No.
Were you into it?
I mean, when I played, yeah, I was into training. I love to train.
But now you're more about maintaining your body, like longevity wise, rather than like, working.
Well, I'm a body worker, and so I find what I do with my body, it keeps my body receptive. A lot of the work I do, I have to pay attention to what's going on in my body, and so if I get too stiff or I'm not moving, then I lose that sensitivity with my body, and so and also all the the beating I took playing football. If I don't move and I don't take care of my body, I start to get stiff and I start to feel like an old man, and that sucks. And so I stay on my yoga, I stay on my breathing exercises. Really love qigong, and it's physical culture, but it has a spiritual component, and so I feel like I'm killing two birds with one stone.
Yeah, I just started doing the 5 Tibetan rites. Do you know those?
Yeah, yep, I sure do.
Do you do those?
I did them for about 5 years. I did them every day. Yep.
Nice. Yeah, I'm about a month in. Yeah, a month in. I did 22 today. 22. You call them reps? I don't know.
Reps. Yeah.
Yeah. But I read about it in a book over Christmas.
Yeah. You do the twirling too, huh?
I do the twirling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's tough. I mean, it's but anything.
That's a complete like spiritual practice.
Yeah.
It's a complete spiritual practice. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to. I've been meaning to sort of research it a little bit more because I'm like, am I doing this correctly? But I think I am. I think just breathing into it and stuff, that kind of stuff. So, yeah. But I love all that stuff.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah, it just fires me up. I read a book. It was like, this is the key. Like, this is like anything that has thousands of years of history about where you're like, you're like, okay, this has got to be legit.
That's what I love about Chinese medicine. I'm getting a master's degree in Chinese medicine. I've been learning acupuncture in the meridians because when I played, I found this amazing acupuncturist. And I always told myself, this system just seems amazing. I'd love to learn it one day. And so when I retired, came out to California, there's a wonderful school called Emperor's College in Santa Monica. So I started taking classes there, and I love it. I love needling myself. It's awesome.
You do it to yourself?
It is awesome. Yeah. I love it.
That's cool.
Because it's like things, when I played, I had to go to the doctor and to do, like now, anything that comes up, me, friends, family, just grab the needles, and I have, a bunch of herbs, very good understanding of herbalism. And so it's just fun to be able to help myself and help friends and family. Yeah.
Do you find you're always kind of shifting in your routines or, like diet wise, and then like, with breathing or yoga? Because for me, it's like I tend to get bored of, whatever my ritual is, like my morning ritual. And then I sort of move to something similar, but just a little bit different.
I mean, I've studied so many different things, you know, that I've
Mhm.
kind of created like a routine during the week, and I keep it varied, and then I also give myself room to how do I feel today.
Right.
But you know, that's the first question is, you know, how am I feeling today? And then kind of from there, I get an idea. Okay, you know, what can I do this morning to take care of myself? And sometimes I'll just lay on my back in shavasana for an hour, you know, and just
Right.
like more internally going through each parts of my body, each my toes and my feet, and relaxing all of that. And sometimes that feels amazing. Other times, you know, I'll do 50 rounds of sun salutations if I feel like I really need to get things moving. And
Yeah.
so, you know, I taught yoga for a little bit. I've taught meditation and Tai Chi and Qigong. And so I have access to a lot of resources, and I love it. You know, I'm a big tool person. You know, the more
Mm.
tools you have to handle whatever comes up for me, the better.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah.
Did are most of your like friends like into the same stuff, or are you kind of like that guy out of your friends?
I don't really have any friends.
You don't have any friends?
Not really. I mean, I have my
Interesting.
wife. I have my wife, and I have you know, my people that my colleagues that I work with, and they're my friends. But I feel like my life is 100% business, you know, and so you know everything I do, my friends, you know, they're people that I work with. I do work with.
Have
So
you always been that way?
I don't really have leisure. Yeah, I've always been that way. I've always been all about like work, you know, whether that's football or what I was doing in my free time, just always I always have to be doing something that feels like it's meaningful.
Hmm.
Yeah. So if you like if something's like fucking you up in a day, you don't like want to call someone and talk about it. You'd rather just like kind of just internally take the tools you have available to you and just kind of
Just like
process it
that.
that
So I
way.
think this is my favorite tool. I go out in the back patio right there, get one of my favorite books, you know, and I get to work, you know. I get to work. This is the only
Is that
medicine.
weed?
This is the only medicine that
What
I
kind of
need.
strain is that? I got some CBD THC right here if you want to light up together virtually.
This is Mindo breath. That's what it's called. Mendocino breath. Yeah.
So if
No,
you're in,
but
but
seriously, this is my best friend. Hey, buddy. No, but you know, if I'm having a rough day, because most of the people, my friends that I try to talk to, stuff I say, they just kind of look at me like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" But my wife, she can, you know, she's the one I talk to, and if I had issues with her, then I'm kind of screwed. Um,
yeah, you got to protect that one because that's your one. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. No, I have a good friend in Austin, my friend AJ, who his dad was my running back coach in college, and we got really close. And so if I really need to go to, then I'll go. You know, I had a situation a couple of years ago where my he was 15 at the time, 15-year-old son came to live with me. You know, we had like that moment where he was trying to like see what he could get away with, you know. And I had to put the law down, you know, like
What's that look like?
black eye. I mean, you
Oh, you
know,
fought your son?
I didn't fight him. I just hit him. And so and so
Whoa.
I know it was heavy. And so I hit him, and he was like falling, and I went to catch him, and I was like, dude, you know, I was like, I'm not gonna beat you up. I'm not gonna fight you. I got you, you know. And then I had to do some like really deep soul searching, like what was that? And I like went to the beach, and I was walking around, and I was like, I need to that what you were speaking to. I was like, I need to talk to someone about this. So I called up my friend AJ, and you know, and we had like a nice talk about it, and I got to a really good place and understanding about it. And so that was one time where I did need to reach out to a friend to talk about something.
My dad and I used to fist fight a lot. Most of the time I would instigate it, but in some ways I think he was pushing me to that point in a way where I think he almost liked it when I hit him because it kind of made him feel better about whatever he did next. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah,
But that's maybe me, but that might be a little
makes sense.
unfair of me. But that's
It
pretty
makes sense.
heavy to hear. How did that affect your son?
Um, you know, it's an interesting story. I'm not for like physical. I mean, I know I'm a football player, but like I wasn't proud of that. It didn't feel good, and at the same time, it felt like it was something that needed to be done. You know, because my son, you know, he grew up with his mom most of his life, and he just heard a lot of horrible stuff about me, and so finally his mom kicked him out of the house, and I was like, of course, you know, my home is always open to you, and so I brought him in the house, and then from day one, it was just massive disrespect. And I talked to him and I said, listen, I said, I've been where you are. I'm not going to expect you to be perfect. I love you. I brought you into my house, but there needs to be some level of respect, you know? And we had this like talk. And later that day, you know, he starts like harassing my wife. And then I like ask him about it. And he just keeps lying to me. And then like I'm sitting right in front of him and I say, if this is gonna work, you know, we need to get on the same page. And he just like started lying to me again. And like something just came over me. Next thing I know, like I hit him and then again I caught him and I was like, listen, you know, again, I love you. I'm not trying to fight you. I'm not trying to do this thing. And he looked at me and he smiled and he said, I understand. And from that point on, like we've been good. Good. You know?
Interesting. So it was effective.
It
Because
was.
it
Again,
sounds
it was one
pretty
time.
gnarly.
It was one time. And again, you know, again, I hit him and I caught him and I just let him know, like, this is not how I'm trying to do this. And I'm not a punk, you know, like there, this is, you can live here or you cannot. But if you are, there's just certain, it's not even a lot. There's just certain simple respects that I need. And it was clear. I mean, we were on the same page after that.
When I beat my dad up one time, I finally got him as he got older, and I was lifting a lot, and we got into a fight. He was yelling at me about some shit. It wasn't the time to be yelling at me too, because some other stuff had been going on where he should have been a bit more humble. And
Yeah.
I threw him over a counter and I chipped his tooth. And he goes, hey, and then my brother broke us up and I charged back and my brother shoved me and I almost went at my brother. And then my
Yeah.
brother went, dude, and it knocked me.
Woke
I
you
went,
up.
oh,
Yeah.
he threw me a good dude and I calmed down.
That's all it takes.
And I think I started crying. And then my dad goes, you chipped my tooth. And I go, yeah, you're lucky I didn't knock out all your fucking teeth. And then my dad goes, the only reason you can knock out my teeth is because I pay for your gym membership.
I like your dad.
He's a funny guy. But no, I just did, but that's interesting to me. Like you felt like you needed to physically check your son. And have you growing up, were you similar? Like, did you feel like sometimes people were trying to get one over on you and you kind of felt like that was like a gear you had to go to at times to kind of like
You know,
keep yourself like in a position of feeling safe or in charge maybe?
no, you know, I really didn't get in. I didn't get in many fights when I was a kid. I mean, I kind of have a temper, but it's one of those things where people can push me, and then I'll like they push me too far, and then you know something happens. But you know, for me, it was kind of the opposite. You know, I was a smart kid. I was an intelligent kid, and I used to get picked on. You know, they used to make fun of me for being smart. And so a lot of playing football was, you know, to prove that I was tough. And so I didn't have to do it through fighting. I did it through playing football.
You're really interesting too because you're so spiritual. But then like I looked up like Richie Incognito to get your take on it, like if that was on available on like Google or whatever. And I saw that you were kind of not on Incognito's side, but you kind of sympathized more with his perspective on it than Jonathan Martin. So for people who don't know, that was like Incognito got accused of bullying this guy on the Dolphins, Jonathan Martin, and then Martin kind of washed out of the league because of it, which I understand because it's a strength oriented thing, but it's
He didn't
like
want to be. He didn't want to be there. He didn't want to be
Right.
there. You know, he didn't want to be there. And I think that's more of an issue it's more of an issue of the system. You know, there's so much pressure if you get an opportunity to play in the NFL. And for me, I'm more identified with Jonathan because I had that feeling of, you know, I'm just gonna be honest, you know, telling the truth. When I got to the NFL, like I hated being around football players. Hated it. Hated it. Hated it.
Why?
You know, and so you know, because in things have changed, you know, and it's but they're just like kind of macho people. And I was like a football player, but I'm not a macho guy. And so I just always felt like inferior and like I just hated it. You know, I felt like I just was so much of an outsider and so different from other people that it was tough for me. You know, I used to hang out with like the equipment assistant. You know, they were the ones that would come over to the house and hang out with me, not the other guys on the team. I was just a regular dude who can run fast and run people over. Like I wasn't trying to be a football player.
So you felt a bit miscast.
I did. I mean, it kind of right after I left Texas, I kind of felt like I don't think I'm supposed to be here, you know. But it took me it took me 5 years before I really had the courage to do something else.
Yeah. Did you like aspects of football? Like, I know you liked playing the game, but
I love
Did-
football. I just didn't
Right.
necessarily like being around football players.
right.
Hmm.
Was there anyone kind of on your wavelength? Like, I don't know, Ed Reed. I'm a huge Ed Reed fan.
I mean, of course, later in my career it was fine. I'm talking more about earlier, in like the first part of my career. Later in my career, where I got more comfortable just being myself and not caring, everybody was cool with me. You know, they're just like, "That's Rick," you know, and it was fine. But before, it was like, you know, there's some kind of expectation that I was supposed to be a certain way, and until I learned to, you know, not buy into that, you know, I let it get the best of me.
Yeah. So did you have, when you first got into the league, did you have like this inner kind of tug of war of kind of wanting to be yourself, but believing you had to be a certain way to be accepted and to be successful in the league? Is that kind of what happened when you first got there?
It's exactly what happened. I mean, I had an identity crisis. Like part of me was saying, be yourself, and part of me was saying, you know, try to fit in. And some days I'd try to be myself. Some days I would try to fit in, and some days I had no idea what I was doing. And
Right.
it got really bad to the point where I was diagnosed with social anxiety disorder because I didn't know who I was. And when people would come up to me, like I didn't know how to act or how to behave.
Hmm.
And it was tough, you know, because I think most of my life I had identified as being a football player, and I got to New Orleans and I was pretty much hurt my whole rookie year, and so my identity as a football player was, you know, it wasn't helping me out, and I had to reach and find other parts of myself to develop, and I'm glad I did, but it was tough to do it in the public eye.
How did you learn how to, was there a sort of an epiphany or a moment where you sort of like found your groove of like, okay, I'm actually being myself. I'm sort of doing what I think is true to me. Or is it kind of, was it a gradual process to where you kind of finally realized like, oh, I've
It was
arrived?
both. It was both. I think the flash was when it was when I retired, and I was retired, and I was in this town called Byron Bay, on
I love
the
Byron Bay.
yeah, cool town. So I was in Byron Bay, and I was just doing my thing, and I was meeting people from all around the world, and I just was like, yeah, this is me, you know, interacting with people, telling stories, and just experiencing something, you know, totally different from where I grew up.
Mhm.
But the process of making that really a part of my everyday life, that was a gradual process. And so when I came back to the NFL, it was like every year, you know, I was integrating more of the spiritual side of me that I discovered traveling, and the warrior football side of me. And it was like every year as time went on, those two parts of myself integrated more and more.
Mhm. Yeah, I always feel like, because I'm really into spirituality and like Taoism and all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah, I love
yeah,
Taoism.
it's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been reading a lot of like Wayne Dyer. I don't know if you did.
Yeah, I know. I know. I mean, so but the it's funny you say that. Like, so the day before I decided I was going to retire from the NFL, I
Mhm.
was reading Wayne Dyer the whole day. You
Oh,
know, and
really?
I don't think it's a coincidence. You know,
Yeah.
I think it's a coincidence.
Yeah, I always seem to gravitate back towards him in certain times in my life, and it always just, because yeah, I feel like the sort of spiritual journey is sort of just finding your inner child again and
Yeah,
letting that out.
yeah, that's exactly what it is. I
Yeah,
agree with that.
yeah. And so when you start to um, feel that, you know, it's like the most joyful thing of just to be sort of happy being present and just laughing and enjoying life as it is. It's so freeing. Um, but yeah,
It
all
is.
that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So are you guys are you guys from? Are you guys from Southern California?
Yeah, Orange County. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yes, where you guys grew up? Like, what part of Orange County?
San Juan Capistrano primarily.
Yeah,
You know it?
I grew up in San Diego. So
Oh, which part of San Diego?
I grew up right in the middle, right across the 8 from San Diego State.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what? That's interesting. Yeah, that makes sense actually. I think we kind of have similar outlooks a little bit because of
Yeah. I mean, I feel like so much of my outlook, it comes from growing up in Southern California.
surfer bros.
No
Just
doubt.
growing up around Well, isn't it interesting too? Like, I don't think like I grew up in Orange County with all these like super successful, like kind of alpha males who also were like surfer people too, and like love to chill at the beach. So it's this interesting kind of like combination of traits. You know what I mean? Because I think people perceive surfers as being like super mellow, but surfers can actually be pretty intense. You know what I
I
mean?
find most of the surfers I know are pretty intense.
But they want to be mellow. It's like they're
Yeah, they
striving
want to
for mellow.
exactly. They want
Yeah.
to be. That is so true. Oh my God, that is so true. Yeah.
And I feel that in myself. Like I think I am predisposed to being a highly neurotic, highly intense person, but I got dropped in, South Orange County where it was like, bro, don't freak out, just stay mellow. And if you overreacted to something, your friends would be like, whoa, look who cares. And then you'd be like, I don't care, I'm fine. And it's this but I think there was some good stuff there. Like it is cool to like be mellow and to be laid back and to just let things flow. But then but it might not be what my chemistry would pick.
Yeah, especially when your dad pisses you off, right?
Right. Yeah. And then I got this fucking, well, yeah, that football is good for that though, right? You got
Football,
an outlet
I mean,
for it.
that was my lifesaver. It was an outlet. It was an outlet for me to play football. And that was a place where I was allowed to go hit someone as hard as I could. I was awarded.
And you get love for it.
Exactly.
You get love for it.
Exactly.
Was that because you were probably good right away, right? You were always kind of the best guy on your team and whatnot.
Sort of, kind of, yeah. Sort of, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, I was always good, but I got better. I was really good at getting better. I was always fast, but learning to play the game is developing a skill set. And that's one of the things that I think made me a great football player was that I was always getting better.
Did playing physical come naturally to you, or was that something that?
So very first time I played football was in the 7th grade, and the first like 2 weeks you're in like shorts, you can't put pads on. And I remember the very first day of practice, we're doing this drill where guys would just get head to head and just go heads up. And I just sat and watched, and I got to the back of the line and I realized, okay, the object of this is just to be more aggressive than the other person. And so I went in there against the toughest guy on the team and I went as hard as I could, and it was a stalemate. And then from that day on, I learned just be more aggressive than the other person, and I kept that with me.
Yeah, and then I mean, San Diego football is good. Like Southern California football is pretty high level across the board. And then that's even you going to UT, that totally makes sense because it's like UT is like it's like artsy, but then it's got like the sports side too.
But it is, but it's still a big time college football program, and so we were kind of shielded from
one of the biggest
from the artsy side, But luckily, I was curious enough to get out and be affected by it enough, and especially now. I think after I retired and going back to Austin, my joke is Austin is the only town with 2 statues of potheads, me and Willie Nelson.
Oh, you've got a statue at UT?
I do, yeah.
Dude, that's
Oh, that's
awesome.
cool.
Is Doak Walker? Is he from UT as well?
He's from SMU.
SMU.
Yeah.
I knew that. I shouldn't have got that. Who's Billy Royale? Billy Royal? Who's a big UT
Coach
guy?
Royal, yeah.
Yeah.
Coach Royal, Darryl Royal, Bobby Lane, old school guy from Texas, Earl Campbell, obviously. Those are Tommy Nobis, played linebacker, played for the Falcons in the college and the NFL Hall of Fame. There's some Eric Metcalf, great receiver, running back for the Browns.
And you left there right before like Major Applewhite and Chris Sims were there, right?
So Major was my quarterback my senior year. And so I was there at the beginning of the Major era.
That was always crazy when like Sims kind of took the gig from him, but it felt more like he got it because of his like, his legacy and stuff like that. And then I think Major took back over at the end of the year.
Major took back over,
and got the W in like the Holiday Bowl or something like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just plays out in real life the way it should. It's just like a movie. You know what I mean? You're like,
it sure does. That's what I love about college football. It seems like that happens a lot in college football. There's something magical about college football.
It is great, man. I can remember so many of those games because like Roy Williams jumping the O-line to get Chris Sims. That was
horrible. That was one of the worst games. That was one of the hardest games to watch.
Really?
Yeah.
One of the most instinctive plays I've ever seen. I mean, it was truly like just a special athlete doing something unique to that person. And then what were like when you're getting recruited and all these college coaches are coming to your place, could you kind of tell that they were full of it, or or were they good enough at playing the part, or are they full of it? I guess I shouldn't frame it instinctively.
Well, you know, I think there are some coaches that are full of it, and I think, you know, I was one of the most highly recruited players coming out my year. And so I think when you're at that top level, they don't have to bullshit you. You know, usually when they bullshit you, they tell you we only got one guy coming in behind you, and you're gonna have a chance to compete. And then you get there and you see there's like 10 guys,
5 other dudes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so, you know, and your true story. Okay, the one place where I kind of felt like I might have been being bullshitted, maybe, was USC. Okay, John Robinson had come back to USC, and his son was the tight end coach, and he recruited San Diego. So he was the guy who recruited me, and I loved him. We had a really good relationship, and you know, a big thing for me coming out of high school was I wanted to start as a freshman. I didn't care if it was fullback or tailback or whatever. But USC, you know, they had a couple of guys that were on and on. They had a guy named Rodney Sermons, big recruit out of Southern California. And he was a running back there. And I got on campus and he told me, he said, don't come to school here. We have too many running backs. You'll never play. And I was like, damn, you know? And I kind of thought, oh, the coaches just bullshitting me and lying to me. And so that was one of the reasons I crossed SC off my list, because I just didn't feel very welcoming. And then I went to Texas like literally the next day, and it felt exactly the opposite. You know, I trusted the coach where he said, you can come in here and start as a fullback, and we'll put a lot of plays in here, you know, to make sure you can touch the ball a bunch. And I believed him, and I got on campus and I started that year at fullback, and you know, almost ran for 1,000 yards. And so I think I did have a sense, at least, of where I'd land and what would feel good to me, and I believed in it, and I think it worked out well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then, yeah, I guess now that we're on the coaches thing, then you played for Ditka at New Orleans, who's almost like the movie version of a coach. Like
he is. There's not almost. He is. It's a real deal. So my very first preseason game, we played the Dolphins, and it was you know, a night game, because all preseason games are night games, and we had like a 2:00 curfew, and our training camp was in La Crosse, Wisconsin. So we flew back and we got in like really late. So we had like 45 minutes to run to the bar and like get our drink on that night. And so we're at the bar for 45 minutes, and Coach Dick is in the bar, okay, and it's like 5 till 2, and he yells out, you know, curfew's 4:00. And we all stay there hanging out, having a good time with our coach. And that was cool.
That is cool. Yeah. And then you guys famously were like on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and you were wearing a wedding dress, and
that was us. Yeah. It was ESPN the magazine.
ESPN the magazine. I'm sorry.
All right.
But you enjoyed all that stuff. That was fun.
Well, it was fun until you know, I think people started to react to it. For me, I thought it was a funny way to illustrate that, you know, we were married, that he put his neck on the line by making that crazy trade. Yeah. And so it was fun. And then, you know, we're in the limo going back to the training facility after the photo shoot. And, you know, he's sitting there with his cigar, and he's like, you know, I don't know how they got you to put on that dress. If it was me, I never would have done it. And I was like, dude, why are you telling me this now? You know,
it is hard to picture Ditka in a dress. That is a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, but you know, I got a little flack for it, but you know, eventually it blew over.
Who'd you get flack from? Just like random
media, mainly the media.
Yeah, I mean they're kind of the main villain in Run Ricky Run, and the really good 30 for 30 doc about you. Which really, a lot of my friends who played like college football and stuff, that was a really important documentary for them. Like they were like, because I think it was the first, you kind of blazed that trail for players talking about mental health stuff. Because even around that time, I think Vince Young had his kind of a moment where he didn't show up to practice, and he talked about how he'd been feeling sad and had been feeling suicidal. And I was like a teenager at the time, and I was like, oh, I kind of trust him more because he's talking about this. But it was something that was never, and now it's become way more normalized, especially in like the NBA, where guys like talk about how they're feeling all the time. But I think Run Ricky Run was kind of the first example of an athlete going there, at least in this era.
Yeah, I mean, I never planned to go there, but it was real for me, and I think facing my issues head on and dealing with them, uh, it was hard and it took a lot of courage. But once I did, my life changed dynamically for the better. And I think, like Carl Jung, one of my idols, uh, he had a mental breakdown, when him and Sigmund Freud broke up. And he found through that breakdown, he really found himself. And I think in life, to truly live fulfilled, there does need to be a mental breakdown, because all of us born into a family, born into a culture, we've been trained, we've been trained to fit in. But true happiness comes from being yourself. And so there does need to be a breakdown of our conditioning at some point in our lives if we truly want to be fulfilled.
Yeah, I wonder.
That's an old man talking. That's a
No,
40-year-old.
I agree. The hard part for me, I guess, is like how many times do you need to break it down? I guess I worry that I'm like, is that I love the breakdown so much that sometimes I'm pursuing it when maybe the better course of action would be like temperance.
Well, I have a friend. He has a saying. He says, break down to break through. And as long as your breakdowns are leading to breakthroughs, you're good. When your breakdowns stop leading to breakthroughs and they're just, creating a mess, that's when you gotta like wake up a little bit.
Right. That's when you're just in like the kind of the drama cycle.
Exactly.
Where you're like, everything's a little too steady. How about I just fucking rock the boat?
Exactly. I'm good.
Yeah.
I was good at that one. Yeah.
Yeah. How about I just make a mess of everything? Because then I'll know I'm alive and I'll see who really cares about me, and I'll get to
Well,
yeah.
There's like the this weird thing, like if I was like vaping, for a bit, and I quit, and it's like, and I was trying to be so healthy that I was like, at a certain point I was like I need advice, like this is ridiculous, like I'm way too healthy, I'm way too in control, like I'm way too happy, this is fucked up. And so I just like would start vaping again or something like that, and it's like I would intentionally throw a wrench in there to disrupt it. And I don't know what that, I don't know if that's just human nature or like how that, but there always seems to be that just like devil on your shoulder. It's like you need to break it down again.
I think
Yeah.
we need some negative excitement. We need some dirtiness. Like it's if you're too ethical all the time and you're too clean, it feels kind of like you feel kind of, I don't know. I feel like I need a little.
I was talking to a mentor of mine today. I haven't talked to him in a while. And the last thing he said to me was, be bad.
Really?
Be bad. And I laughed and I said, always. Because I think I think this idea of good and bad, this is our main training, right? Good and bad based on what? Based on what? And I think ultimately we have to answer that question ourselves. But in order to do that, we have to start turning to the voice, right? The conscience, the super ego, whatever you want to call it, that voice inside that tells us right from wrong. I think we have to have our own experience and challenge those. And I think that's what you guys are talking about, is by challenging those, you get a real sense of, is this right for me or is this not right for me?
Yeah, and I even think just on like, because I'm trying to get more stable and I think I'm doing a good job, but there's also a part of me that's like, dude, you always have to have the capacity to break the rules though.
But
like,
why is stability? Yeah. Why is stability the aim? Is kind of what I'm trying to say. I'm saying that these things that we shoot for a lot of times are arbitrary. They're based on something that we thought someone told us, that we should be more balanced or more stable or all these things.
Don't we want the stability because it'll allow us to not only accomplish what we want, but also to keep the people around us feeling.
This is training. This is what you've been trained to value.
Maybe I don't know if that's true though, because
if you're saying that I have to break the rules sometimes, that's fucking training. That's the definition.
Right. No, that's true.
If you're living by your own rules, you're not going to have the need to break rules because you'll just change your own rules. Right.
Wait, but we got to break it down a little bit. But Sorry,
That's
keep
how
going.
I live. Like I wake up in the morning and I live my life. I make choices based on what is important to me. I don't say, is this good or is this bad? Am I stable? I don't give a fuck, right?
But isn't it about the impact on other people?
Says who? If my life
Other
is about
people.
the impact on other people, then I'm a slave to their impact, right? If I don't have impact, then I feel bad about myself.
But we choose who we're a slave to in this respect.
That
Right?
You have a choice. You have a choice to be a slave. But my point of view is, okay, I would choose to be a slave for what reason?
Well, and I also think you can be liberated by discipline though, too, right? By like having a code and by having the stability, maybe there's more freedom in that. Because I think there's people who every day are like, hey, let's
That's my
burn it
point.
down. Yeah.
If it's yours, yes. If it's yours, 100%. That's the definition of freedom, is living based on your rules. But part of figuring out what our rules are is we have to rub up against the rules that have been imposed upon us.
I
And
like
I'm
this
all-
energy we got.
I'm all for that.
Wait, so but how does this it makes me feel like you'd be a tough person to date. You know what I mean?
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah. It's real. That's what I tell my wife. I say, listen, I will not be upset if one day you say I can't do this. I totally get it. Totally.
But what so if she did make that call, you think you'd be able to keep it disciplined like that?
What do you mean? I'd just be like, this was fun. Like, we'll be friends.
You don't think you'd like text her or call her like a week later and be like, hey, what's up? What's going on?
Of course, I would say what's up, and I'd say, did you change your mind? And she said no. I'd be like, all right. No.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure it would be hard, but I would respect that. It's more torturous to try for her to try to like fit into, I'm a demanding person, like yeah, it's okay to have fears, but it's not okay to feed your fears, And my whole thing is like, I'm choosing happiness, and if you're
But
gonna
what are you demanding? What are you demanding?
as far as like self-honesty, that like, how I'm being I'm going there. You know how guys can do it too, but you know how like women can be passive aggressive, right? And what I mean by
dudes
that
too,
is,
but yeah, no, totally.
yeah,
Yeah.
but they won't say something and then you get upset and they're like, why are you getting so mad? Like if that happens, I'll say, I'm getting mad because you're not feeling your anger, and so someone has to feel it, right? That's real. That's real. And so that's what I mean. I'm just demanding in like, if we're going to be in a relationship, we're going to be real with each other,
Right. And but it sounds to me like you like that. Is it, and I'm the same way. I like conflict.
I wouldn't say I like it, but I would say I realize I appreciate the value of it. I'm not going to avoid it because I know what happens. I know what happens, especially in relationships, when you try to avoid conflict.
What happens?
It doesn't work.
It
It
gets
builds
fucked up.
it doesn't work, and then it comes out as like, what did I do? What did I do?
So are you 100% honest with your partner about everything?
I'm as 100% as honest as she can take. Yes. Because there's being too honest, being aware of what someone can take and what someone can't is kindness. And so I think with honesty, you always have to balance it with kindness.
Are you guys monogamous?
Yeah, so far. But again, if one day, she said, I'm kind of getting bored, I love you and I want to be with you, but I think I want to explore other things sexually, I'll be like, okay, we can talk about that.
Nice.
Did you have to build up to that honesty, or did you have to rein it in?
So this is my second marriage, and what I learned in my first marriage is like honesty is important. So getting into this relationship from the very beginning, that was put on the table, is we're going to be as honest as we can, and we're going to keep working towards that. Because the truth is, in a long-term relationship, the passion won't stay around if you're not honest. If you're not honest, resentment builds, and then you're to the point where you want to be friends, but you're like, I don't really want you to touch me.
Yeah. Are you a horny guy?
Yeah, I'm a horny guy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, pretty horny. But at this point, like my wife's pregnant, so I'm like, grinding on her leg at night, leaving a wet spot on her butt, but she's fine.
Did you hook up with like a lot of fans of yours, or was that? It seems like maybe that, I don't know. How are you with that stuff?
Yeah, I was turned off by groupies a little bit, and I'm not proud of it necessarily. My friends would say, why don't you just like sleep with them and leave them alone? And I couldn't, not that I was always trying to save them, but like I'm a caring person, and if I'm with someone, like I really want to know them. I want to contribute to their life. So it was hard for me to being horny and it was hard and being sensitive at the same time. I just kept getting myself into trouble.
Yeah.
It'd been easier if I just was a, dog and I didn't have feelings. I mean, not nice to women, but it would have been easier for me. It's horrible being horny and
Do you ever feel like the dogs let him off a little bit easier though, because then they don't at least create that intensity like attachment, and then
yeah, you're that's what I'm saying. You're on it. I mean, because when when you create that intensity, like that breakup is like it's so heart wrenching.
you're leaving a longer kind of tail life on it.
Yeah, and I care too. So it's not only like especially when I was younger, I really appreciate the company of like a warm, open um, woman who's willing to share how she really feels. You know,
Mhm.
I think for me the opposite sex is just so different, so fascinating. Anyone that's willing to like really share their perspective um, and their genitalia with me, where
Did you ever like do any like gay stuff?
I was I didn't meaning like I did this thing where we really this guy I met and we were talking about being open and he's like, would you ever kiss a guy? And I was like, I'm an open guy, and so we like kissed a couple of times. And then I was in Amsterdam once, and I've been there more than once, but I was in Amsterdam this one time, and I was got up really early in the morning to go walk through a park, and I didn't realize this is the park that like gay people cruise, And so I was walking. It was early in the morning. And I was walking down the street, and this guy rides by on his bike, and he's like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Hey, what's up? How are you doing?" And then he's like, "Hey, do you want to go in the bushes and I'll suck your dick?" And I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa."
Yeah, that happens sometimes. I was at the 24-hour fitness in WeHo, and a guy opened the shower on me. I was showering there, and he just like totally cruised in. I was like, "Bro, what's
Yeah.
up?" And then he's
Yeah.
like, "What's up?" And I'm like, "What's up?" And then he was like, "What's up?" And I didn't realize that was like
Hey, I didn't know
yeah.
either. And I learned,
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, okay." And so I talked to him, and I let him flirt with me because I was just curious.
Feels good.
I was just,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and I'm like I said earlier, if something piques my curiosity, I'm like, okay. And then I was curious, like how does this work? And so we talked, and then like we walked around the corner and sat on this bench, and he's like, "Can I put my head on your lap?" And I was like, "That's fine." And so he put his head on my lap, and we talked for a little bit, and then I was like, "This was nice. I'll see you later." So no intercourse, but I was flirty.
Yeah,
I
sure.
let him on a little bit.
That's about the level I like to get to too. I play spin the bottle, and if there's guys there and it lands on, if you're at a party, like and it's like maybe you're out of town, so you're feeling extra frisky. If it lands on a dude, I got to put some lips on him,
Right?
and I'll kiss him as good as I can. I want to get a
Right?
good review, yeah.
I'm
And then
telling-
I think it boosts the overall energy, because especially if you're hanging out with like more alternative people, they're like, "Oh, this guy, he's getting in there. He's kissing dudes," and then then the
open.
girls feel more comfortable and they trust you a little bit more, and also you're just having a good time. You're like, "Look, I'm pushing my boundaries a little
I'm
bit."
telling you, and I'm so happy now that times are changing to where like it's kind of in now to kiss guys. It's another part of our training, right? I think we're realizing that it is part of our training that we like to be with.
But I think what I'm coming to accept about myself now is that I'm actually pretty traditional. I think I just want to be with one person in a monogamous thing, and I think I kind of want to be quiet with them. I just want to sit at home and eat, and then once a month I'll freak out and we'll go nuts, and then
Yeah.
but for the most part,
Sounds like my marriage.
Did you ever worry about like losing your edge a little bit as you got more comfortable in your relationships?
Not really. Not really. Not really. I think my edge has evolved a little bit. It's become more of a mental edge. And
Interesting.
my wife, she's sharp as a tack, so she definitely keeps me sharp.
She keeps you on your toes.
She does. She definitely does.
Nice. Dude, this is super random, but I used to watch Pros vs. Joes on Spike TV.
I remember
And
that.
dude, so most of the time it'd be pro athletes versus regular people. But most of the time it'd be guys who are like 20 years retired, like Clyde Drexler, and he'd take some guy into the post and do some like old man, like pickup moves on him. But then Ricky was on the show.
You remember that?
Yeah, you were on the show in your prime. So you came in like probably 28 years old, and the dudes, the Joes on one episode were talking shit to Ricky, and he's like, "Oh, I can't wait to get in there and like go toe to toe with you." And then fucking Ricky gets the ball, runs, annihilates this dude, like literally catapulted him 15 yards backwards, like he was jet propelled. But it was like the one time on that show where they had a legit pro, like in his prime still, actually go up against a normal person, and it was very satisfying to watch.
Yeah, that was fun. You know, the way they produce it, you know, they get us talking trash. And I think, you know, some of them out there, they don't really know. And so I was like, well, if you're on here, I want to give you the experience of what it's like to tackle me when I'm coming in. Yeah, and he tried, you know, he put his head in there, and, you know, next thing you know, he had ice pack on his neck. But the other guy that was in there, he was a bigger guy, and, you know, I made him hurt a little bit, but he did a good job getting me to the ground. That was fun. You know, I was a year out of football, and that was kind of my entree in coming back. And it was a good deal.
They did some wild.
They need to bring that show back.
It was a good concept. They had John Rocker on there, the disgraced baseball player, and instead of having him pitch, sometimes they would have him pitch, but lots of times they just have the other guy try to wrestle him off the mound, which I was like, he's not even a professional fighter. Why is he doing that? But it was they repurposed his skill set well.
Yeah, that'd be fun to try to hit off of him though. He used to throw gas from the left too.
Yeah, you were a good baseball player.
I was a decent I was a good high school baseball player. I was a horrible minor league baseball player.
What were you on the road? Like, were you in like Quad Cities, Iowa, like doing like the buses and stuff?
I was in the South Atlantic League, so I was in, you know, Kannapolis,
Charleston, playing the River
I
Dogs.
played in Charleston. Yeah, I did play in Charleston. I played in Columbia, South Carolina. We played in Macon, Georgia. Played in Augusta, Georgia. We played in Hagerstown, Maryland. It was a cool little league. Yeah.
And this is when you were what, in between college and pro football?
It was the summers during college. So I'd go to college, and then I'd take my final in May, and then I'd hop in the car, drive down to Clearwater, Florida. I'd do extended spring training for a couple of weeks to get back into shape. And then they would send me to wherever they wanted me to play that summer.
Do you prefer, do you love, is football your main love, or if you
growing up, I was a huge baseball fan. And I really, my dream was to be a professional baseball player, but I always had this dream to play college football. And so I told everyone, all the college teams, I was playing baseball. I told all the baseball teams I was playing college football, and they agreed. I got to college, I did both, and I realized I'm much better at football. That's the way I went.
Nice.
Are you a Padres guy?
Yep, Tony Gwynn.
Padres? Yeah.
Same guy.
He was the best.
Yeah, was.
I mean, gentle voice, and then watching his body, his waistline expand, but him still be able to put up like, just go 375.
Playing that right field like a man.
Yeah. All right. Well, Ricky, thank you so much for being so candid with us. We typically, I'm sorry, I had the tone like it's ending. Do you have a little bit more time? We're going to answer some questions from listeners, if you could help out with that.
I got a couple of more minutes. Yeah.
Okay. We'll hop into it. We'll do it quick. Do I try to get her back? Oh, this one's too long. Big time question. What's up, beauties? Hope you and whoever on the pod are doing well. Got a bit of a question. I would love to hear your feedback on it. I'm in college down in San Diego, but I'm currently staying home this year with the COVID situation being a buzzkill to everyone's stoke levels. The squadron that I found myself in last year has slowly faded with some of my homies down in San Diego and some staying home like this year, like I am. However, I'm being approached by a new group of guys that I was kind of tight with last year, but not as much as the other one. This other armada is filled with some cool cats, but I'm questioning if I should pledge my allegiance to this new group or stick it out with my old homies. This other group all stayed in San Diego last year and pretty much got a solid rep. I'm going to try and be 100% with, but sooner or later, I'm going to have to pick a side. I tried last year to merge these two sets of guys and make a mega squad, but they are just different kinds of vibes. I really like both, and I'm wondering, what should I do here? Should I try and hold the line with the regressing group or explore other avenues? You guys totally fire me up with the pod, and if you ever find yourselves down in SD again, I would love to buy you a drink and get after it. Stay classy and golden, Chad and JT. Hello?
You talking to me?
Yeah. Do you
No,
have
I'm not talking
what
to
do you
anyone. Yeah.
do you
I
have
don't
any
really.
thoughts on that?
My thoughts. I think he should. I think it's kind of obvious. Like, keep it moving. You know, I would say, play, like, stay and hang with both crews as long as you can. But when you finally have to make a choice, go with the progressive group, because that's the big thing. Especially college. It's kind of. I think if the time in college is really learning to move away from home. And when I say home, I don't just mean your family. I just mean the people that you grew up with. And this
Mhm.
idea of that we have to move away from home and become ourselves. And so I say move to the group that resonates with your future plan.
Yeah, I agree. Keep it moving. Keep expanding your horizons. Get out there and yeah, obviously remain friends with your old crew, but you want to explore and keep growing. So I think that's the move.
Yeah, it sounds like you do want to move on. I don't know if you have to make a hard and fast choice, though. I think that these things can be juggled simultaneously. But if your heart is telling you that you want to make new friends, those are good. But always remember, too, it's nice having friends who knew you back when, who you can always trust, kind of that you develop together. So you kind of chose a path with one another. And that's kind of special, too.
But I
Um,
guess a lot of people are having to go through this with during COVID, huh? Because I think you're having to
Oh, you got to kind of pick now.
yeah.
You can't risk spreading the virus to too many homies. Yeah, it's true. I have hunkered down and kind of gotten essential with it.
Yeah.
It's been hard, but you can FaceTime the other guys once in a while. Just let them know you're still thinking about them. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. So here's the sitch. I recently turned 21 and started checking out some of the local bars in my area. On this particular solo quest to an Irish dive bar, good on you for going solo, called Dempsey's, I met this absolute beaut of a girl named Sophie. She engaged in conversation with me for nearly an hour and touched on several topics such as the future, kids, politics, and career. The whole time I was talking to this broad, my stoke levels were off the chart. She was really charming and pretty and seemed to have an interest in me. After about an hour of chit chat, I was prepared to seal the deal and give her my number as I left. But just before I could, her boyfriend showed up out of nowhere, which really fucked up my whole vision quest as I thought she was my potential mate. Long story short, this guy's an absolute piece of garb with a rap sheet longer than my dink. He's a convicted felon with a history of grand theft and is 9 months sober off meth. Not to mention he's a line cook at Longhorn Steakhouse, which is honestly a beast establishment, but fuck that guy. Anyways, I apologize for the rambling, but here's my cue. Should I attempt to home wreck this relationship or should I back off and hope for an early breakup? Thanks again, dudes and bros. Sincerely, your tiny dick amigo. We both have small dicks, so a lot of our fans do as well.
What's
Um,
this dick though? Like, what's the measurement of it?
we don't like to get into the numbers because we don't want to alienate anyone who feels like they have a small dick or a big dick, but we're not walling out.
God.
But as to the question,
As to the question, dude, really? Are you that desperate? Like, there's a lot of girls out there, right? Real talk, I say you stay in the friend lane, stay in the friend lane and see if you can coax her away. But even if you do, exes usually don't go away. And if this guy has a rap sheet, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I would let that really, I wouldn't obviously sit and wait for, to start dating her until she breaks up with this guy, but I would let that relationship play out and keep some sort of connection with her. And just keep exploring. Yeah, I agree.
I got it.
Especially with this guy. I mean, yeah, I don't know if you want to piss off this other dude too.
Yeah. I got a new rule that I just decided. Go ahead, Ricky.
Another question. Another question is, like, in that situation, the question that I have to ask myself is, like, what does she see in this dude? Because the choices she's making about a partner, that says something about her, you know. And so, do you really want to be with someone who is with these kinds of dudes?
Yeah. I came up with a new rule. I think you can be a home wrecker once. Because I've seen people who were like I've heard stories like, oh, this person was engaged to this other person and then they broke up and now they've been happily married for 40 years. So it can happen in a way that I think is like in a sort of meant to be like true love kind of way, but I think you get to do that once. So do you want to waste your one home wrecker on this situation? I think not. I don't think it's
Only
proven
once.
itself to be worth it. Yeah, only once. Yeah, because then you can justify it.
I've wrecked more than one home.
Well, you're in violation of my rule, Ricky, but I forgive you. It's a brand new rule.
I'm feeling pretty bad about myself now. Like,
Sit with it.
damn. I think I need to call AJ.
Well, do you kind of feel like if a home is, I guess this gets into personal power. Do you think these homes hypothetically were already going to get wrecked, or do you think
Yeah.
you had the right, or do you think it was your like power as a human that caused the wreckage?
No, I don't think that. I think if you wreck a home, it was because that home needed to be wrecked, and you just were the one to come in and do the job.
Right. All
And
right.
I think
Last. Go
some
ahead.
homes need
Sorry.
to be wrecked. Some homes need to be wrecked. All right, last question.
Dear Stoke Lords, I've run into a little predicament and I need help getting amped. Me and my squatter in college, the North Shore of Oahu, we surf almost every day and the vibes are always super positive. We were recently surfing our go-to surf spot and my boys were paddling out while I was on a wave. There was a steep section ahead, so I pumped around the section and hit a fat turn. One of the more senior bros saw my wave and called me a barrel dodger. I was fine with being teased for the next day or two, but it has stuck with me. He's been calling me out for dodging the section in front of big groups of people and especially girls. This has seriously dented my stoke and my relationship with that bro. I'm left with few options and I need your help. I've gotten shacked a good number of times, but I haven't had the opportunity to do it in front of the boys. Thank you, my dudes.
What is being shacked? What does shacked mean?
I think when the
So when you barreled, when you're surfing in the wave, and a barrel dodger is when you're surfing and you see the wave forming up, like it's gonna, barrel over you. But it can be scary, so you dodge it. So you just go straight around it. And it's basically calling that person a pussy.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Got it.
So
What's your advice?
my advice?
Yeah.
I would say don't even, if he wants to clown on you for being a barrel dodger, that's fine. And if you're able to just laugh it off and not care and just let it bounce off you, then it's gonna make his attempted insults ineffective, and it's gonna make you look stronger, and it's gonna make you a stronger person. So I would say just ignore it, keep moving, and surf the way you want to surf. Yeah.
dude, I think.
What do you think?
I think.
Oh,
Ricky,
go ahead,
you
JT.
go.
No, go ahead, JT.
No, you go, dog. Come on.
Oh,
All right. I would say, dude, let it fuel you. You know what I mean? Like I would wear it right now. I would, because you can't, if you try to like hide from it, you're just going to feel like you're not going to feel good. I would just sit in and be like, yep. And then it's going to make you a better surfer at the end of the day. You're going to paddle into a bigger wave because of this, and you're going to get shacked more because of this. So it's like the King Arthur thing, the Bad Guy Ritchie movie. At the end of it, Charlie Hunnam thanks Jude Law for killing his family because he's like, because you built me into the dude who right now is about to vanquish you. So I think, your enemy is your friend in this case. He's going to help you be the surfer that you are destined to become.
wow. That's really good advice, both of you guys. Two different ways to handle this. What I would do is I would not confront the guy, but I would go up to him and say, like, dude, what's up? That's all I would say. Dude, what's up?
Dude, that was fire.
I like that.
You had
got
perfect
me.
composure there. Yeah, that was good. I was like, oh.
That made me think I called you a barrel dodger.
I got to say, I think you're the most honest guest we've ever had on the pod.
Yeah, I don't
Oh,
know what
yeah.
it is. I mean, I'm like, don't know why I was so honest, but you guys brought it out of me.
That's
it was
cool.
It was a treat talking to you, man. I've been a fan of yours for so long, so thank you for doing this. It's it was a real pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really great chatting with you.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm interrupting this podcast to let you know once again that we are brought to you by Manscaped. Manscaped, thank you so much for keeping our trims pubed, for looking after our hogs, for making sure that our dongs are looking fresh and clean. Because You've got a dong, you know? Do you guys have dongs?
Yeah.
Aaron?
Yeah.
It's pretty special. It's a pretty special thing. It's like a hose with feelings. And
Dude, that's well said.
thanks. And you want to take care of that. You want to let it know that you care. You want to thank it for the pleasure it gives you. You know, you don't want to just, you know, throw it under the bed and then bring it back out when it's time to drill. You want people to know that you care about your dong. Because we're in the thick of winter, guys, and storms are brewing. It's like 1 to 3 inches are in the forecast when you trim that hibernation bush that's taking place in your pants. Luckily, our partners at Manscaped specialize in products to make sure you're walking around town with beautiful snowballs. Guys, you know about Manscaped. They got the best engineered precision tools for your family jewels. I trimmed my nuts yesterday and I played U2 while I did it. Why U2? I don't know. Bono just gets me going when I want to talk about or think about pubes.
It's a beautiful day.
It's a beautiful day. Wow, 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 wow.
To let it get away.
Wow, 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 wow. Funnily enough, I was able to recreate that sound with my lawnmower 3.0. Yep.
Hell yeah.
Okay. Manscaped's performance package is the best buy of 2021. You get the lawnmower 3.0, the weed whacker ear and hair nose trimmer, performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag. And everyone thinks that long nose hair is a major turnoff. It said in the poll 79% of partners, but I'm going to tell you right now, it's everyone. You got the crop preserver, ball deodorant, crop reviver, ball toner, anti-chafing ball deodorant. It makes your testes feel like they're walking in a winter wonderland. You got spray on toner for your balls, which is soothing aloe and witch hazel extracts, which will make your balls look up at you and say thanks. Don't get cold feet this winter. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code GODEEP at manscaped.com. 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use code GODEEP. That's 20% off free shipping at manscaped.com. Use code GODEEP. Thank you for making our winter wieners look good. Okay, back to the show.
Let's go. Chad, what's your beef of the week?
You know, I forgot to write mine down because we had such a chaotic beginning of the week that we can't get into right now. So I'm just gonna say my beef of the week. My beef of the week is with sudden panic. It's when you're having a nice day, when you went for a nice run, you iced yourself in the bath, you're cranking Foo Fighters, and then something happens, and then panic sets in, and you just don't even, you know, something that you weren't expecting to derail your day. You know, like, you know, your favorite poke shop is closed, and you weren't expecting that. It just throws a giant wrench in your day, and then the panic sets in. You're like, what am I going to do? How am I going to get my ahi base? How am I going to get my omega-3s and my friggin' ponzu sauce? I don't know. And so my beef is with that panic, because that panic, you just, for me at least, I just kind of have to sit there and just not think, and then I get cravings to, you know, eat like a cookie instead of a poke bowl, which is cool, but you know, that wasn't in my original plan. You know, I just lose focus. Like that day was centered around poke, and now I'm thinking about cookies because I panicked. So that's my beef. It's just the although it can be kind of fun, but I just think, you know, when panic throws a wrench in your day and you lose focus, that's whack. I think that was a little bit abstract, but
Yeah. Well, maybe one day we'll be able to go more in depth into it, but at this point, it's too active to be communicated on.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
But I
still
feel
have,
you, dude.
I still have some Sundays where I'm like, oh shit, I have homework to do.
Oh
No, I
yeah.
No, I don't.
Dude, isn't that crazy when you're like, oh fuck, I've been done with school for a long time.
A long time.
Thank God.
Yeah.
It's the worst feeling in the world because I just knew I wasn't going to do it. I just knew I was going to make everything harder. Aaron, who's your beef of the week?
My beef of the week, and I don't know if Chad brought this up when he bought his car, but my beef of the week is the car buying process.
Mm.
It's so long, it's so arduous. They throw numbers at you, you get very confused, and you walk out of there going, "Did I just get ripped off? I have no idea." Um, all I know is I can afford my car and I love it. But man, where did those 6 hours go? I picked this thing out in less than an hour. Why did I sit for another 5? I don't understand.
Good
I hear you,
beef.
man.
My beef of the week is with the oat milk commercial from the Super Bowl where the guy was singing on a piano in like a single shot. It was gross. It was so much ego involved in it. It was unbearable to watch him. And I guess now, as we should have expected, it was done intentionally to create a backlash so they could capitalize on the backlash. Doesn't change the fact that it never should have happened in the first place. Chad, who's your babe of the week?
I like that. I don't remember that commercial, but I like that.
I'll send it to you, Joe. Sorry.
Thanks, Doug. My baby of the week is my lately I've been taking midday naps. And I love it. I was always anti-nap. Growing up, I was anytime the idea of a nap came up, I was like, nope, not me. I don't nap. I don't muck around with that shit. But now I've been napping lately, and it's awesome. It's such like a just, I think it's important to do to be okay with resting. If you're that kind of person who's not okay, because I think we're all learning that the importance of sleep and the effects of lack of sleep can have on you. And I was always kind of like, especially, 6 or so years ago, I was like, oh, I got to wake up at 6 every morning and just chug coffee, and it's like, that's just counterproductive. So I think I'm pretty stoked on my newfound ability to be okay with napping, and to just hit when 2 or 3 o'clock comes around, just take a quick little snooze, and it feels good.
Nice. Aaron, who's your babe of the week?
My babe of the week is my new car, aka the hashtag Dad Tank.
Nice.
I just love it. It's like driving on butter. It's so smooth. It's so spacious, even though it's roughly the same size, if not smaller than my former car. It's got all the bells and whistles. Apple CarPlay. I mean, this thing's great. I love touching screens. I love doing it, touching screens in the car. Using the steering wheel to adjust the volume. I've just never had any of this stuff, guys. My last car is great and I love it, and I haven't gotten rid of it yet, and it's going to be emotional. But I've never had anything this new and shiny before. It's
That's awesome.
blown my mind.
That's awesome.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
It's
Well
gonna be cool.
deserved too, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's hard to
glad-
feel that way sometimes. It's like this feels opulent. It's like
Mm.
it's not like it's not a Lamborghini, but like it
I
still
hear you, though.
feels- Yeah, it still feels like. Do I need this? Yeah, I do need it. Yeah,
And you deserve it. You work really hard.
I feel like
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any of those feelings, you can just poke them right now, because you're a Jeep guy and you deserve it.
And you deserve and like it's crazy. That stuff does feel good. Like when you get a new thing, it feels good. And I think a car or something like that, that's meaningful. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's
We're-
one of
and
the
we're-
big things.
Yeah, we're in
Yeah.
them so much in this town. So
Yeah. Yeah, like your home, your car, that stuff, it's like, nah, you deserve to feel good. Yeah. But I hear you. My baby of the week is The Weekend. I talked about this on Instagram during the Super Bowl. I thought he did a good job with the show. I thought it started off a little shaky, but as it got weirder, you could really feel his kind of like artistic stamp on it. But I couldn't help when I would look at him, I could just feel a tremendous sadness coming off of him. Like I feel like he is kind of caught up in a machine that he'd be crazy to resist, but I can feel the weight of the responsibilities and the constraints of his success and how they weigh on him. And I think it's kind of zapping him of his life force a little bit. And it's crazy. Blinding Lights has been listened to 2 billion times on Spotify,
Wow.
which is incredible. But the thing is, that song, it's good, obviously, but it still doesn't feel like as urgent or as real as the first music he made, like House of Black Balloons, I think is the name, or like High for This. Like those songs were just so raw. And I've talked about it on the podcast, I think, before. And so I think he's kind of in that Chris Pratt territory where like people love them and we want to see them be more successful, but I almost think they were meant to be a little bit weirder, a little bit more wild, and a little bit more off center than where they inevitably ended up. But I love him. I love him still. And and then he's like putting prosthetics on now to make his face look different because he's doing a commentary on beauty in Hollywood. But again, I'm like, I just feel like you actually are suffering and that's why you're doing it. So maybe it's not that deep. Maybe he's chilling, but I kind of felt like he's hurting out there. So Weekend, I love you, dog. I got you. If you ever want to just come over and hang out and get weird in private.
He needs
We're
his
all
weird
down.
hair back.
Yeah, he needs the hair back. This fro, it just doesn't work. He looked better when he had the kind of thick dreads on him. Yeah.
Yeah, and I watched that show, the halftime show. I was like, he's got to dance.
He's a good dancer too. I saw him at Coachella. He
Is he
can
a good?
move.
Is he a good dancer?
He's not like Chris Brown, but he can move. Like he's a performer. He can get it going
Yeah.
up there. He can bring some energy to it.
That's how I was like, he's got to dance. That's one thing that frustrated me. I was like, if you're a live show and it's all vocals, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. But like for like a Super Bowl halftime show, you gotta, I think he's gotta command the stage a little bit more with some moves.
You're right.
That was my critique. That's one thing that just frustrated me.
Yeah, because Bruno Mars
I
dance,
like seeing
Timberlake
dancing.
dance.
Yeah, I just like seeing dancing. Yeah, like with that set and like all the crazy things that he had going on. If he had just like a little backup dance crew and he started breaking it down to some of those songs, like really breaking it down, I would have lost my mind.
If
He
he'd
should,
moonwalk the length of that stage.
Yeah.
Also, it's not House of Black Balloons. Black Balloon is a song by the Goo Goo Dolls that I just conflated with The Weeknd's House of Balloons. Yeah. Chad, who's your legend of the week?
My legend of the week is the hill outside my house. Because it's great for running up and down, and I just love doing sprints on it, and it's right there, and the sun shines on it, so it's my legend.
Nice. Aaron, who's your legend of the week?
My legend of the week is my baby Ruby. I haven't mentioned her before in terms of legend or babe status, but she is definitely both. She just started sleeping this week, like 8 hours straight.
Nice.
And that is key. So she is my legend of the week.
That's awesome.
Beast baby legend. My legend of the week is Tom Brady. He's been my beef before. I've always hated him just because of how, I don't know, just ubiquitous he was in the Super Bowl and all things sports. And it was just an uncomfortable amount of success and domination coming from one person, and especially because he was with the Patriots and they're so high and mighty over there about the Patriots way. And you're always hearing about how he was a 6th round pick and he overcame so much, and just the mythology was just always so large. And then, they had the cheating shit, but at this point it is just undeniable. And it's funny, some people will still, I put up a fake poll being like, is Tom Brady overrated? And some people are like, yeah, he's overrated. He always has a good defense. He always has this. I'm like, it's all the arguments are over. He is without question, I think, a top 3 athlete of all time. Maybe probably number 1. He might even be above Jordan. I know in basketball, one player can have more control over the outcome, or so I thought. But then Tom Brady has been in 10 Super Bowls over 20 years and he's won 7 of them. Like, he seems to have an incredible amount of control over the outcome of what happens in a football season, more so than any player I've ever seen. And I don't know, and now he did it with the Bucks. He did it without Belichick, and there's just no more arguments to me. I know the defense played good. I know KC's O-line sucked. I still think Mahomes could maybe surpass him overall, but I just have to give it up, Tom. You're the greatest, and I love you, even though
He seemed genuinely
love him.
happy.
he
Like,
was
super
effusive,
stoked to have won. Like, it was like, okay.
And I think some of us more liberal white guys, I think we hate him because he's white. He's so white, he's such a white guy, and all the Patriots receivers are white. And, he was a Trump guy. And then I think we go a little extra hard on him because he's white,
The Trump thing, this sucks.
but you got to it's whatever the fuck works for the guy. I mean, he's the fucking man. 10 Super Bowls, married to Giselle.
He's from the Bay Area and a Trump guy. Like, it's weird.
I mean, he's just a fucking beast, though.
Yeah, no
The
doubt.
fucking guy just fucking dominates. I hate him, but now I love him. I can't help it. It's just he's probably going to win next year. He's 43 years old. When does it stop? When he's 50?
I mean, when they can stop him.
He's redrawing like what we think is possible. It's I don't know. He's good looking as fuck too. He kisses his kids on the lips. That's nice.
And his dad.
Kisses his dad on the lips. We caught my friend kissing his dad on the lips one time, and we wouldn't stop busting his balls about it. He cried. I had to follow him into the bathroom and apologize. At one point, though, he goes, "You guys are just jealous." We're like, "Did you kiss your dad?" Slow down. Your dad's a good-looking guy. I'm not jealous, dude. All right, Chad, what's your quote of the week?
I'm looking at and my quote is from Cliff Booth, played by Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So this is when he's starting to trip off acid, and he's taking his dog for a walk, and they're about to go, and he's like, "And away we go." That always just fired me up. It just made me so happy.
That's awesome.
I was like, I love the carefree attitude. That's cool.
Beast. Aaron, what's your quote of the week?
My quote of the week is staying with the car theme. It's a lyric from a song called Night Drive by Jimmy Eat World off the Futures album. It's just this one lyric in the first verse. Now's the right time for a good song. Got something to say, what I can't. And I've always found that's really cool. And that's what music can do for you. Say something that you can't.
Hell yeah. My quote of the week is Tom Brady. Whenever they ask him what's your favorite Super Bowl, he just says the next one. And it would be annoying if anybody else said it, but he keeps winning, so it has to be cool. Chad, what's your phrase of the week for getting after it?
Let's indulge in our vices.
Aaron, what's yours?
Go out there and kiss some dudes.
Mine is The Weeknd. I only love it when you touch me, not feel me. When I'm fucked up, that's the real me. There was a time in my life where I was like, that's the realest shit I've ever heard. You're driving in my Prius, and I'm like, fuck, that's the truth. All right. Dude, that was fun.
Yeah.
Good seeing you guys.
If you need advice, these guys